Godzilla! In space! Welcome. I am the Kaiju no Kami, and tonight's review is Invasion of Astro Monster, or as you might know it as, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. Ghidorah the three-headed monster was another box office success. Not only that, but fans immediately welcomed King Ghidorah into the fold of kaiju adversaries for Godzilla, and as such, Toho decided to try and repeat the process, this time with a science fiction movie. The science fiction genre had been popular for quite some time, especially in the United States with movies like The Thing from Another World, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and Forbidden Planet. As such, why not tackle the science fiction genre when they had already been successful in tackling the spy genre? The movie begins with letting us know that a mysterious new planet has been found on the other side of Jupiter. Scientists have decided to call this planet Planet X. We are then introduced to our two main heroes, Glenn and Fuji, both played by Hollywood star Nick Adams and veteran Godzilla star Akira Takarada. They are astronauts on their way to Planet X to investigate it and to claim it for Earth.
I claim this planet in the name of the Earth.
They talk with their headquarters on Earth, and we meet Fuji's sister Haruno, played by Keiko Sawai, and their boss Dr. Sakurai, also played by a veteran of the series, Jun Tazaki. Haruno's boyfriend is played by Akira Kubo, and his name is Tetsuo Terry. Tetsuo is an inventor who has designed a device that creates a really obnoxious alarm sound he calls the Lady Guard. Tetsuo gets a call from a woman named Namikawa, played by Kumi Mizuno, who works for a company called the World Education Corporation, and they are interested in marketing his invention. In the meantime, Glenn and Fuji finally arrive on Planet X, and they begin their descent towards the planet's surface. Lightning strikes the planet as they are exploring, and Glenn disappears. Fuji comes across a strange capsule-looking thing and is told to step in and does so.
Please select mode of death, quick and painless, or slow and horrible.
Upon entering, he is taken to another place where he is told to enter specific hallways following the light. Have you ever wondered what might be down the additional hallways? I decided to take a look down one of them, and here's what I found. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. Fuji finally meets up with Glenn, and a group of men dressed in funny outfits and sunglasses enter. They introduce themselves as the Xians, or aliens, and suddenly Monster Zero attacks, which turns out to be their name for King Ghidorah. After a few minutes, Ghidorah leaves, and the Commandant explains to Glenn and Fuji that they would like to borrow Godzilla and Rodan to help defeat Ghidorah. In exchange for their help, they offer a cure to cancer as payment and sends the duo home to negotiate for them with the rest of the world.
I'm definitely not a villain.
Glenn and Fuji return to Earth and report the offer, and a conference is held to make a decision. Later on, Glenn and Fuji meet with Haruno and Tetsuo for lunch when Glenn bails on them to meet his new girlfriend. She turns out to be Namikawa, who Tetsuo has been unable to get into contact with since she took his invention and was told she was out of town. Glenn begins to wonder if they can really trust the Xians when their flying saucers emerge out of the water and one of them lands. The Commandant emerges from it and meets with a few of Japan's leaders. He apologizes to them for not waiting until they were invited and explains that more destruction might have been caused had they waited.
For a superior race, they really rub it in.
They then proceed to pull Godzilla and Rodan from their sleeping spots and prepare to take them to Planet X. After the Earth agrees to let the Xians borrow Godzilla and Rodan, Fuji, Glenn, and Dr. Sakurai take off to act as ambassadors. Tetsuo follows Namikawa to an island where he ends up walking into a trap and is taken prisoner. Meanwhile, Fuji, Glenn, and Sakurai arrive on Planet X, and they discover that the water is treated like gold on their planet, for it is a scarce resource. Ghidorah attacks once more, and Godzilla and Rodan are finally let loose to battle the three-headed behemoth. Now, the Godzilla suit looks similar to the one he had in the last movie, but the eyes are huge and movable. In fact, this Godzilla looks a lot more child-friendly than he did in the past. It isn't a terrible suit, but it isn't anywhere near being one of my favorites either. Rodan and Ghidorah are the same as they were in the last movie, just with some slight improvements to make them look better. After a short battle, Ghidorah flees and Godzilla proceeds to celebrate.
Happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy, happy, happy, joy, joy.
Fuji and Glenn run off to look around the base when they encounter some guards. They escape in an elevator and...
What is this thing?
Sorry, wrong floor.
Ready the anal probe.
Wrong floor again. They exit the elevator and find Namikawa to be dressed in a spacesuit, only to discover that all of the women look identical to Namikawa. Wow! Maybe that's why our actresses all look the same and act wooden. They're ex-agents. Fuji and Glenn are finally caught and interrogated for their misconduct. Thankfully, the Commandant forgives them because they are ambassadors, but tells them not to do it again. Shame, shame, do not do that again. Understand? They hand the trio a tape that contains the information on how to cure cancer and send them off in a spaceship that looks like the P-1 Fuji and Glenn originally flew to the planet in. Godzilla and Rodan are left behind. And no one thinks this is suspicious? Back on Earth, Haruno searches for Tetsuo and we see him imprisoned. Hey! If you kill him now, he can't thwart your plans later. Just saying. The tape that is supposed to have the cure for cancer on it is played once Fuji and gang return to Earth, but it turns out to be an ultimatum for the Earth to either surrender or be destroyed. Riots break out across the world. Glenn finds Namikawa, who says she has truly fallen in love with him and wants him to join Planet X. He refuses, and when he is taken captive, she is executed for defying their computer's orders. Glenn is imprisoned with Tetsuo, where they discover that Namikawa stuck a letter into his pocket revealing the weaknesses of the ex-agents. As such, Tetsuo uses his lady guard to drive the captors into madness and they escape.
Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, weekend. Friday, Friday, getting down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend party.
Glenn and Tetsuo return to their headquarters where Fuji and Sakurai are working up a plan to defeat the ex-agents. The ex-agents attack Earth prematurely and Godzilla and Rodan go on a rampage of destruction. We get to see some stock footage used here as a few of Rodan's scenes are taken from his original movie. I'm not very keen on those, but whatever. Ghidorah joins in on the destruction after attacking America. A new version of the Lady Guard is completed and is heard all across Japan.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta
The monsters are then broken free from the ex-agents' control while their UFOs meet their end. Now, interestingly, one of the ex-agents does say that they are going to go into the future, but then his UFO just blows up. I guess it depends on your point of view which way it went. Godzilla and Rodan get up to fight Ghidorah. After a short battle, Rodan picks Godzilla up and they fly into Ghidorah, crashing into the sea below. Ghidorah flies off and the day is saved. And that is Invasion of Astro Monster. Now, this movie is interesting because it makes a really good science fiction movie, but not exactly the greatest kaiju movie. In fact, some sites have timed Godzilla's screen time to be 4 minutes and 56 seconds. As such, if you go into this wanting to have a good time with some great science fiction, you will enjoy it. If you just want to see giant monsters wreck things, this is not the movie for you. The plot is pretty good, even though you know the ex-agents are going to turn out to be villains. Their designs are not exactly the greatest, as they all look like futuristic agents from the Matrix, but they are memorable. Fuji and Glenn have a great amount of development, and you really care for these two. You can tell they have been friends for a while as they mock each other just as they help one another, which is nice to see. Haruno is a step down from Sano and Naoko, but I do love her calling out her brother for having a more traditional mindset on who she chooses to love over a modern one. Tetsuo is simple, and yet he is the reason the ex-agents are defeated. His persistence to know what is going on with his Lady Guard invention breaks up the action to add a nice subplot into the mix. As for Namikawa, she is just there to be a distraction. Granted, that was the plot, and Kumi Mizuno does a great job at acting like a wooden machine, but still, she was very underutilized, and her being Glenn's girlfriend came out of nowhere as if they had no idea what else to do with her. The effects are pretty good, you can still see some wires, but most of the time you have to really be looking for them, unlike the last time. The eyes on the Godzilla suit are way too big for my taste though, but it is the celebration scene that really kills him being a threat anymore for me. The rest of his suit is fine, as like I said, it resembles the last incarnation, so I have no complaints there. In my last review I did state that Rodan's neck seemed really long, but I did want to slightly correct myself. As you can see here, his neck was long in the original Rodan movie as well, but here it looks like an organic neck. The neck in this movie and in Ghidorah the three-headed monster just looks like it is a pipe that his head and body are attached to. It just looks horrible from my perspective, as it looks unnatural. The Ghidorah costume, on the other hand, remains as awesome here as it was before. Sometimes even better, since the wires are not as noticeable this time around. Like I said, if you are looking for a really good science fiction movie, you could do much worse than this. On the other hand, if you are looking for a movie that is nothing but monster action, you might want to go somewhere else. Nevertheless, this movie is quite enjoyable. Well, that is all the time I have for in this episode, and join me next time for Ebera, Horror of the Deep. Bye.